So James, many big trailers dropped for the Super Bowl this week. First one, Twisters.
Yeah.
The sequel to Twister. They've done what they did with Aliens and Alien.
This is what I was going to ask, because
More than one tornado.
I know of the Twister from what year?
I want to say 1996 or
Oh, okay,
95
so a while back
with
now.
Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton. Never seen it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No.
No. I know it's kind of like
I
very
remember
90s, very iconic.
what would have been the VHS box art from walking around a Blockbuster
Yes.
at the time, because it's quite distinctive. Yeah.
And it's kind of murky because it's got rain and clouds.
A good typeface for that era.
Yes. So there's now, 30 years later, a sequel to it
Just
starring...
spin the IP wheel at the
Just-
studio. What do we got?
Do you know what?
What do we got?
They've got all the titles on the exterior wheel. They've got S, and whatever title they land on just puts an S on the end. We've got Titanics. Can we do Titanics?
What if there were multiple?
No. Okay. Twisters.
Yeah.
So we have Twisters, which is about tornado hunters and scientists and etc. I don't know. The trailer doesn't give you that much. It just gives you Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Daryl McCormack.
Nice to see Daisy Edgar Jones.
Yes, rocking out with her impeccable American accent from my perception.
An accent comedian.
You have seems to be sort of a chalk and cheese thing where she seems to be the scientist who wants to sort of harness and challenge these and sort of maybe break tornadoes. I'm guessing from the trailer that her team were killed by a big tornado and she now wants to destroy tornadoes with what seems to be in the trailer, nanobots.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Glenn Powell plays a very sort of cowboy-esque, in a role that 30 years ago probably would have been played by Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
He's now tornado hunter, storm chaser. All about it. There are two there.
If you ever wondered, what if I tried to blow that there tornado up?
Yeah,
what would happen
literally.
to it then if I gave it my gun?
It is brains
Here's
and
gonna
brawn
answer.
together. And literally in the trailer, they go, there's two of them, there's twins. And then you have the Twisters.
And then do you remember in the film The Day After Tomorrow when the two tornadoes merged to form a super tornado?
Do you know what? I've only seen bits of The Day After Tomorrow, which I'd be interested to know how that holds
think it
up.
was good.
I remember
seen it in
them
a
being
while.
stuck in a library.
They run away from ice. That it really works. I think it really
freezing
works.
behind them?
So this idea that the cold is so cold that if you get stuck in that cold, you would immediately freeze to death. And it like sort of the icing effect like runs along the halls and Jake Gyllenhaal's
The
like
icing
running away.
effect.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
delicious.
ices, and then you have to like sit by the fire and like close the doors to keep the heat. And then there's like people who like come out of helicopters and just freeze. It's quite compelling.
On Twisters, what I will say
sorry.
is, I did think actually it's quite refreshing to have like an eco thriller
Yeah.
where the villain is nature, and it's kind of getting back to like a proper disaster movie.
Yeah.
that you used to
That
get.
wasn't
The Towering
Tom
Inferno
Gorilla.
and the old school stuff. I know we've had like San Andreas and the Roland Emmerich stuff took the disaster film to just extreme lengths, like the
Yeah.
steroid version of disaster movies. And I like this being sort of like, can we just bring that back down to just
feel
being
like
set in like Oklahoma?
In Roland Emmerich prime Independence Day, that disaster movie would have been like one of the biggest films of the year.
Yes.
And in the following 10 to 15 years, those really kind of got relegated to be like, yeah, okay, you can go do your thing, but
Like you
we're
got Gerard Butler's Greenland movie getting released straight to Prime.
yeah, which actually wasn't that
yeah,
bad.
I've not seen. Did you see it?
I did.
Was it
yeah,
quick? I've heard
it was
good
like
things.
I think it came out January 21.
Yeah.
Real lockdown film. I probably wouldn't have watched it, but thrilling and thought provoking.
Yes, I think I will watch that when I'm sick.
Oh yeah, a real sort of you're not fully
A real
conscious.
sick movie
Yeah.
in that sense.
Yeah, it's a real like if you watch it with a partner, we kept pausing it and be like, what would you do? And what would you bring? And then we became very aware of how unprepared we were to leave this place at very short notice with competent clothing and practical bags to like actually survive.
That's Twisters, where they run away from a tornado and they look to blow a tornado up. I want, even though I know it's like quite cynically resurrecting an old IP, in a way I do quite want it to work. In the
Old
sense
IP, I mean, it's not exactly like present in...
No, old IP.
Yeah, but I don't think people are like, yeah, Twisters, the
No,
old
yeah,
IP.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
completely invisible
Sure,
in the landscape. But I do kind of want it to work in the sense that it's like it's a dormant genre, like I said, the disaster flick.
Bring it back.
Be nice if that. I like Glenn Powell. I like Daisy Edgar Jones. I'd really like to kind of see that maybe work. So
I feel like Glenn Powell was, not dormant, but he was sort of a star in waiting. And he must have his agent must have been like, you're going to shoot 6 movies in 18 months.
Yeah.
And they're all going to come out.
what I find is, well, he was like, I first saw him in Everybody Wants Some, the Richard
I haven't
Linklater
seen it.
movie. And then he was in like Hidden Figures, very small part, and he
Yeah.
was just like around. And by the time he was in Top Gun Maverick, I was like,
I
yeah,
recognise
Glenn
that
Powell,
guy.
Yeah, he's been, and he
Yeah.
was in Set It Up, the rom-com. He's like been around in things, but it's like since Maverick, they're
been
like,
sizzling.
okay, we're going to make you an A-lister now,
Yeah.
baby. Get that
Get you
six-pack
a
ready.
bod.
You can't
Yeah.
eat a carb for the next 5 years.
Do the Men's Health How I Trained for Film
Oh,
X
goodness.
thing. Yeah.
Anyway, next movie is Wicked.
Yeah.
Based on the popular stage musical, which of course is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, the wonderful, The Wizard of Oz. James, I've never seen Wicked. Have you?
No, I've not. I love that we're talking about the film adaptation of the stage show of the prequel to the film.
Two things on this, whilst I remember. First of all, forgotten films, Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah, that adds to the list.
Whoa.
Totally. You know, I started to write these down when they came to me. Doctor Sleep, the Shining sequel with
That
Ewan
was apparently
McGregor.
not bad.
But no one talks about
No
it.
one talks
Completely
about it,
came
yeah.
and went. Emancipation Already
Yes,
is straight in there.
Suburbicon, which was a George Clooney movie with Matt Damon in,
Yeah.
and Julianne Moore, which apparently was just butchered in the edit and makes no sense when you watch it.
They're so fun to Wanted with James McAvoy and Angelina
See,
Jolie.
I would say that's forgotten. I see clips of that, and that's been slightly
I've
memeified.
never seen clips of
Oh
it.
yeah, no, you know it was at that moment he knew he was fucked. Like that's from.
Is that from Wanted?
I think
Oh, wow.
it is.
Yeah. Chris Pratt in that film.
Yeah, gets a keyboard smashed across his face.
Yeah.
But Wicked, also, can I just say, when you say it's based on the stage musical, which is based on the prequel to The Wizard of Oz.
No, it's just sort of.
Yeah, but,
well, yeah,
but
go on,
that,
yeah.
loosely speaking,
Yeah.
right? I haven't seen The Wizard of Oz in a long time, but correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was all in Dorothy's head at the end. Isn't it all a dream?
So
Doesn't
it's
she
still
wake
in her
up?
head.
She's been in a twister, literally. It's a
Yeah.
twister anime, it's
Yeah.
Twister. And she wakes up and she goes, and you were there.
She's crazy.
And you were there. And isn't the witch the woman who like told her fortune and like the lion is the
just
face of the
embracing
circus
it,
guy?
yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean there's a prequel to the Land of Oz? Oz doesn't exist. She had a concussion.
Thinking about it more than anyone ever did.
Anyway,
yeah.
that stars Cynthia.
No, I've never seen Wicked.
No, me neither. I had a colleague once who saw it 7 times.
Yeah, people do when they see it. They go, yeah.
She plays. Is it Elphaba? Is that the green
I know
one?
the sing. I know like many famous songs.
Yes,
like
and
Fine Gravity.
Ariana Grande plays the other witch in it.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm also like, weren't there 3 witches? Because at the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, does Ariana Grande play the witch that gets crushed by the house? The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy opens it, there's 2 feet sticking out. Quite dark when you think about
not
it.
got this fresh in my
Yeah,
frontal
why
lobes,
don't you know
unfortunately.
your Oz lore?
Yeah.
Anyway, look, that's also it. It's Wicked Part 1, I believe.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Well, I'm just going to double check that because it hasn't said that in the trailer. but-
Please. Part 1.
Okay, hang on.
I take it back.
The first of a 2-part film. Yeah, stretch that out.
They're gonna
Stretch
do a
that
sequel?
money out.
No, oh my god.
Yeah, well, they're going to put more Wicked. Wickedly. Wickeder.
Wickeds.
Wicked. Jungle is massive.
Jungle is massive.
Anyway, moving on.
If that's not the way what the credits roll into, they've missed the trick. Wicked.
The next one, I had no idea this film was coming out until recently, and I was quite pleasantly surprised, which is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Apes together strong.
We did
Stronger still.
I thought the
I thought
Naughty's trilogy was pretty
Really
solid.
competent films.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes surprised everyone.
Good performances, amazing. Some at the time, I think the Dawn CG was some of the
Yes.
best animal,
Mocap.
digital, in real live action recreations I'd seen. I thought it was genuinely breathtaking.
Really compelling, great performance by Andy Serkis.
Yeah, Jason Clarke as well,
I liked
no.
Rise. I really liked Dawn. I thought War was fine. A little bit disappointing. My thing with War was there was no war.
War
We
felt
were
like a
promised
real sort of
soldiers.
just a bit of a side story. Didn't feel like it really continued.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a contractual sequel.
Anyway, that tied that series up with
Yeah.
the Caesar's arc in 2017. Now,
Kingdom.
7 years later, they've moved on, which looks to be set. I want to say like 100 years after.
Yeah,
like, Caesar
it's
thing.
in that sort of
And now we're
Tim
basically
Burton era of
we're,
like
we're now back
far gone.
into the original Planet of the
Yeah.
Apes, which is apes rule the
Apes
rule the
already
world.
there, no more
apes are
prequel.
advanced, apes on horseback, and the humans are the slaves.
Yeah.
It looks okay. I think I do enjoy the kind of ape, the modern Planet of the Apes look of those films, and the gorillas charging and all that stuff. I just hope it doesn't get. You know what it is? The human lead in this. And
Yeah.
I was a bit like, you look like an actor. You don't look like a person who's been a human slave.
Right,
Straight
okay.
away,
You
you
look
look
quite
like
a bit too good.
you look like a model.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I think when I watched that trailer, I felt like I'd already seen the film.
True.
So I saw a lot of the beats and like, okay, well, that person has this agenda and that person has this agenda, but they're meant to be on the same team. And I can already see the sort of third act in this film, which is fine.
And there's a problematic leader who believes society should be run one way, and then another underling who thinks, actually, I think we should probably do it this way.
And this human sort of puts all of it in context for the people there. I mean, look, I think if it's fine because I've seen this trailer now and it's going to come out later this year. If I don't see that trailer again until I see the film, fine. Chances are when I go and see a bunch of films, I'm going to see that trailer like another 6 or 7 times. So it's fine. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
We'll see it and we'll review it. And then lastly, the one that set the internet ablaze most of all is Deadpool and Wolverine. Not Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Kind of like a comic book title there.
The trailer in which we begin with Wade Wilson celebrating his birthday with the cast you'll recognise from the first 2 Deadpool films. Rob Delaney's mustachioed
Still,
character
when I
there,
see
Ron.
him without the mask on, I'm always like, oh God, Jesus, he really go for it on the makeup. Yeah.
You've got Colossus there, and the other characters, and then there's a knock on the door, and it's the TVA from Loki, which I see as Kevin Feige going, "How can we get Deadpool into the MCU?"
What do people like? What do people like?
We could do the TVA. That could probably get
lovely. It's a lovely little portal into every other world, isn't it? The TVA way. Nice sort of narrative tool.
The TVA snatch him up, they take him away, and
Matthew McFadden.
Matthew McFadden, Tom Wamsgams is there to take him through and do the Owen Wilson.
I just feel like
thing.
you should have Greg behind him.
Yeah.
This is your Greg. Why is the timeline not
working? That's
okay.
the Fox.
Well, let me go speak to the guy.
Everyone likes Fox, Greg. Anyway, basically says to Wade Wilson, blah, 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 you can be a hero now, blah, 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 welcome to the MCU, blah, blah, blah. Cue lots of meta jokes and a fair bit of action and some R-rated violence.
Acknowledging like the studio politics to the camera.
Yes.
Always fun.
People are very excited for this. It's the only Marvel film we're getting. We say we, like we voted for it. But
that's rare. We're used
rare.
to 3+ a year and a couple of shows.
Are you excited for this?
Do you know what? I'm actually not crazy about it. I will take it when it comes, and I hope to enjoy it. But I just I'm humming at a very low gear for Marvel, and I think that's actually better than to be like dissecting it.
Do you know what I think? It could,
I've had a bit of cynicism towards the project, to be honest.
I think what could be good is that this film might bring a healthy dose. It might be like a roast in the sense that like it might be the kind of taking the piss out of Marvel that Marvel needs right now. It might be the kind of reckoning, like bringing it down a peg or two.
Yeah.
So you have Deadpool come in and basically like trash the whole of the MCU, being like, this doesn't work, this doesn't make, and roast it, like you would at a roast. And I think that might be quite good, quite cathartic for audiences to be like, yeah, MCU's so stupid, then hopefully you can kind of move on. Instead of trying to earnestly get you to involve in
its own sentiment has to like sort of like post-rationalizing comedic eyes itself. That doesn't make sense. But you know how like Full Ragnarok was refreshing because it was like a new comedic take on it? We're going to sort of almost do that again with Deadpool, but be very sort of self-aware.
But are we going to be at the risk of the fact that Ryan Reynolds has basically done Deadpool shtick for 8 years now? Yeah. And like, I didn't mind the first one. I quite enjoyed the second one. I really enjoyed the first one. Some people really dislike them and think they're stupid. They do make me chuckle. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm a child. They do make me chuckle. I do love.
I liked one more than two.
Yeah, I did like two. I liked the whole Rob Delaney joke about having the average guy there. And anyway, Ryan Reynolds does it with conviction. And he believes it. Of all the Ryan Reynolds movies where he does the fast talky, quippy thing, hello, that's that Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. I would prefer him. He's best in Deadpool doing that.
Emma Corrin rumored to be the villain in that. Rumored to be like an evil version of Professor X. This is all just sort of rumors and speculation, but
it's very much on the wraps.
You see the back of a bald head in a chair, and it doesn't look like.
I missed that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Professor X or McAvoy or.
And of course,
Stewart.
Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine with the but
classic X-Men style.
Reminds me of the animated series with the yellow jumpsuit, with
90s yellow jumpsuit,
pokey hair.
Yeah, it's sort of important to remember that when Marvel was in its prime, comics-wise, not films-wise, their biggest IP was Spider-Man, X-Men, and Fantastic Four. Those were always the ones that sold the most. And the Avengers, the Avengers were actually a tool to use those characters to sell Thor, to sell Captain America, which didn't do very well.
You pick up your lesser-known characters.
Exactly. And then the irony is that Marvel went bankrupt, sold the rights to Spider-Man, sold the rights to X-Men, sold the rights to the Fantastic Four. All they had left were Iron Man and Thor and Captain America, and they made stars and arguably like bigger cinematic blockbusters out of all of those characters compared to the other ones. And so now they're almost like we fucked up those ones, or they were all dead or boring or not interesting anymore. Let's sort of have a chat with Sony and Fox
Yeah.
and try and just...
We burnt through our supply.
Yeah, we got a really successful thing. Do you want to make some money? Yeah, we
Yeah.
can make some money. Let's just use the TVA and we'll make some money.
Anyway, those are the big Super Bowl trailers from this year. We'll keep out for those films when they come out. We didn't mention there were a couple of others in there, like Quiet Place Day One, which we'll see when this happens with Quiet Place. Every time there's a Quiet Place movie, the more time
More
I'm
you
spent
show,
with those.
yeah.
No, but it's more also just like the more I think about the logic of the monster creation, the less sense it makes.
Yeah.
As like a Darwinistic point of view, I'm like, how can you have, if all these, how can you? Anyway, another time.
But I agree. The suspense in The Quiet Place Part 1 was not knowing about the world. Just you focused on one family in a really cool setting of that farm. And then, like in the end, they defeat them. That's fun.
Yeah, with white noise.
Yeah, but I think like if they don't defeat any of them in this film, that's more fun to me to have a monster that can't be killed.
Yes,
It's part of my thing about horror movies. Like, let the monster win more, or don't defeat the
If
monster.
it's day one, you'd think it would win.
They won't know. Yeah.
Anyway, those were the Super Bowl trailers. We'll now get on with some good old-fashioned film reviews.
You always sound sarcastic when you come out.
I
of it.
didn't sound sarcastic.
You're always like, we'll go for some good
No, I'm
old-fashioned.
pivoting. You'll go, there we go. And now we're going to do this. I didn't sound
Yeah,
sarcastic.
I think you come across sarcastic.
I'll give you
respect.
I'll
this
give you
fucking show.
sarcasm.
Yeah,
Yeah, those were the trailers. Let's do some film reviews.
that's exactly what you sound like.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I'll give you love now. I'll give you love.
Yeah,
Those were the Super Bowl trailers. Let's do some great film reviews now.
is he sickly sweet?
I'm doing it over the top.
Those are the Super Bowl trailers. No, that sounds too cool.
Yeah,
That sounds too cool.
Yeah, it's not nice, is it?
Yeah, I guess those are the trailers.
No, way too nonchalant. Way too nonchalant. Guys, those are the Super Bowl trailers. And now let's do some film reviews.
That's nice. I like
Thank
that.
you very much.
All right, I'll actually put that in there.